What if everything you loved about GloRilla wasn't actually hers? From stolen lyrics to viral lies, this story isn't just about rap, it's about what the industry hides behind the spotlight. And trust me, once you hear this, you won't listen to her songs the same way again. What if one of rap's brightest new stars was not the true author of her most powerful bars? GloRilla, known for her raw lyrics and viral anthems, is now facing serious backlash not for a new hit, but for allegedly stealing someone else's words. A homeless aspiring artist has come forward claiming she took his lyrics, and this is not the first time she has been accused of lifting material. Her breakout song Tomorrow did more than put her on the map. It dominated TikTok, led to a Cardi B remix, and pulled in millions of streams in just weeks. But as these accusations surface, fans are starting to wonder, is this just another example of how the industry operates behind closed doors? Or has GloRilla's rise been built on someone else's voice all along? It was bold, unfiltered, and had the kind of edge fans swore could only come from GloRilla herself. But now, that signature sound is at the center of a legal storm. A New Orleans bounce artist named Slim the Body Last has filed a lawsuit, accusing GloRilla of stealing a phrase that she says has defined her identity for years. The claim, GloRilla allegedly lifted Slim's iconic catchphrase and made it her own, while the music world celebrated GloRilla's rise. Something unsettling had already started bubbling beneath the surface, a controversy that traces its roots all the way back to a beat born in 1994. Back in early 2023, an artist by the name of Ivory Payne's, part of the classic group Doghouse, Posey, stepped into the spotlight with a bold accusation. He filed a lawsuit against GloRilla and her producer Macaroni Tony, claiming they lifted key elements from his old track Street of the West Bank. According to Payne's, the haunting piano melody, deep cello undertones, and even the drum pattern used in GloRilla's hit Tomorrow were far from original. They were, in his words, taken straight from his own work. According to Payne's, this was not a case of harmless inspiration, it was outright theft. He claimed that GloRilla and her team sampled his decades-old track, one that had quietly lived in the underground New Orleans scene, without ever seeking permission. To him, they did not just borrow a vibe, they took the original sounds, sliced them up, reworked them into a chart-topping hit, and never gave him credit, recognition, or a dime in return. The lawsuit spelled everything out in detail, complete with timestamps, side-by-side breakdowns of the musical arrangement, and layered production comparisons that painted a damning picture. For GloRilla, who was just beginning to break into the mainstream, this was not just another copyright was a serious challenge to her authenticity. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. Instead of clapping back or defending herself publicly, GloRilla kept her cool and stayed quiet, leaving the heavy lifting to her legal team while she kept moving like nothing had changed. While fans rushed to defend her, calling the lawsuit a desperate grab for attention and money that came way too late, the whispers in the industry told a different tale. Behind the scenes, insiders suggested this might not be a one-off situation. Rumors began swirling that GloRilla, or at least those managing her sound, had a habit of towing the line between creative influence and outright imitation, a line that, in this case, might have been crossed more than once. The controversy hit at the worst possible moment. Tomorrow was catching fire, becoming the anthem of the season. Cardi B had just jumped on the remix, giving the track a second wind and putting GloRilla in front of millions of fresh ears, most of whom had no idea, and likely no interest, in where the beat originally came from. The buzz around her was electric. Record labels were circling, tour opportunities were lining up, and GloRilla's name was suddenly everywhere, right as questions about her artistic integrity started creeping into the spotlight. Yet behind all the success, that lawsuit loomed like a shadow she could not outrun, and it was only the start. Another claim was quietly building, one that did not come from a forgotten 90s artist or a faded group from the underground. This time, the challenge came from a completely different arena, the fast-moving world of TikTok creators. And at the center of it all was a viral catchphrase that sparked more than just likes, it triggered a full-blown feud. If the drama surrounding Tomorrow raised suspicions, what followed had fans questioning whether GloRilla's rise was built on her own words or borrowed ones. Just months after dodging backlash over the Tomorrow lawsuit, GloRilla was thrust into another firestorm. But this time, it had nothing to do with melodies or beats. The issue centered around a phrase, one that had already become a viral sensation long before it ever appeared in a recording booth. In early 2025, GloRilla dropped a single called Never Find. On the surface, it had all the markings of her signature style, bold, unfiltered, and unapologetically fierce. But one line, in particular, set the internet ablaze: all natural, no BBL. It sounded like a confident jab at the surgically enhanced beauty standards in rap. Yet, it struck a nerve for a different reason. That exact phrase had already made waves online thanks to Natalie Henderson, a rising TikTok influencer and wellness advocate. Natalie had gone viral several times using those exact words, weaving them into her message of body positivity and natural beauty. She had even turned the phrase into merchandise, bios, and captions. So when she heard it echoed in GloRilla's song, her reaction was not pride, it was outrage. Within weeks, Natalie filed a copyright lawsuit, claiming this was not a coincidence, but a case of stolen content. Her legal team argued it went beyond a few words. They believed the tone, melody, and delivery in GloRilla's track were lifted directly from one of Natalie's original TikTok sound clips. To them, this was not influence, it was plagiarism. And while GloRilla stayed silent, her label dismissed the allegations as baseless. Still, fans began to compare Natalie's viral soundbite with GloRilla's lyrics, and the resemblance was hard to deny. Even some of her supporters admitted it felt too close for comfort. As legal experts debated whether viral TikTok audio could be protected like traditional music, one thing became clear: the phrase did not come out of nowhere. And this was not the first time GloRilla had been linked to uncredited material. A concerning pattern was emerging: familiar bars, recycled sounds, and borrowed lines, not just from dusty mixtapes or underground artists, but now from digital creators and influencers too. While Natalie's lawsuit remains unresolved, the damage had already been done. Public perception was shifting, and people were asking a deeper question: is GloRilla truly carving her own path, or is she stitching together a collage of other people's work? By then, her name had already appeared in multiple legal disputes. There was the Tomorrow lawsuit, the influencer lawsuit, and buried underneath it all, a string of quieter allegations painting a more complicated picture. Long before the homeless artist claimed she'd taken his lyrics, GloRilla had already been called out in 2024 over a different kind of infringement. This time, it involved a track called Want to Be, an unreleased demo from her studio sessions. According to reports, the song sampled a melodic phrase from a lesser-known cut in the catalog of Plies, the Florida rapper known for his southern grit. The problem: no permission was ever granted. Plies' team threatened legal action, calling it clear-cut copyright violation. But just as the issue gained traction, it mysteriously disappeared. No press releases, no court dates, no outcome. Insiders whispered that a quiet payout may have been made behind the scenes to avoid a public showdown. But that was not the only case quietly building in the background. In mid-2024, a private investor stepped forward with claims that he had bankrolled $150,000 of GloRilla's early recording sessions in exchange for a cut of her future earnings. According to court documents, she accepted the funds but never honored the agreement. He alleged she ghosted him and sued for breach of contract. While it never made headlines, it shook industry insiders, hinting at a troubling pattern of burned bridges and broken promises as her star rose. Stacked together, these cases form a much bigger story. One or two lawsuits can be chalked up to industry noise, but repeated claims of stolen lyrics, unlicensed samples, unpaid debts, and ghosted collaborators suggest something more serious: a recurring theme. And as these cases kept surfacing and then quietly vanishing, fans, executives, and legal teams began asking, why are so many people saying GloRilla took something from them? And why do the accusations keep disappearing with little explanation? There's no denying GloRilla's voice commands attention, her confidence is magnetic, and her presence stands out in a crowded field. But lawsuits don't lie. And with each new allegation, the question grows louder: is her rise fueled by originality, or by a trail of uncredited voices? Just as that debate intensified, the internet exploded with a rumor so bizarre it seemed like a joke at first. A random tweet, a blurry screenshot, and some out-of-context quotes snowballed into a viral claim that GloRilla had once spent 3 years in prison for stealing cereal. It sounded too wild to be true. But in an era where anything can trend, even that rumor managed to grab attention, proving that when it comes to GloRilla's story, fact and fiction are sometimes hard to tell apart. Not just any swirl that it was a $7.99 box of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes that allegedly landed GloRilla behind bars. There were no mugshots, no court records, just the internet doing what it does best: turning an absurd story into a viral sensation. The rumor exploded overnight. Twitter threads, TikToks, and even fake articles started popping up, some quoting completely made-up court documents. Users began piecing together clips, swearing they remembered the incident. Memes took over timelines. Free Glo until its backwards started trending despite her not being in jail. One post read, "She risked it all for Tony the Tiger. That's real hunger." Another joked, "She didn't steal it. She sampled it." Chaos followed. Even longtime fans started questioning if there might be some truth buried in the madness. But GloRilla finally responded in her signature style, straightforward, bold, and hilarious. She tweeted, "I've never been to jail for no damn cereal. Stop lying on me before I sue y'all next." It shut things down immediately, but by then, the rumor had already traveled across millions of screens. Even verified accounts helped fuel the lie. And that's when a deeper truth became clear. As ridiculous as it was, the cereal saga worked. It pushed her name back into headlines, and gave her something no PR campaign could engineer: mystique. That raw, unpredictable energy, the kind of gritty, from the struggle image that fans connected with, even if it was pure fiction. It happened during an Instagram Live hosted by none other than Rico Nasty. Known for her genre-bending style and unfiltered honesty, Rico was answering fan questions after dropping a new EP. When asked about the new generation of female rappers, and the trend of flowjacking, Rico smirked and delivered a subtle but piercing remark. "Some of y'all faves sound real familiar lately, like too familiar. Ain't gonna name names. But if I was a few years younger, I'd be lawyered up right now." The chat erupted. Fans instantly speculated, was she talking about GloRilla? TikToks and comparison clips flooded timelines. One video laid Raja 2021 Rico track against GloRilla's Out the Mud, highlighting similarities in cadence, delivery, even ad-libs. Another looped Rico, growling "yeah" in a gravelly tone, followed by GloRilla echoing the same phrase in 3 different songs. Rico never dropped a name. She did not need to. Her words sent shockwaves through both the underground and mainstream, forcing fans and critics alike to reconsider just how original GloRilla's rise really was. This was never just about a line or a catchy hook, it felt more like a warning shot. Rico Nasty's subtle call-out echoed far beyond her live stream. It came from an artist who had fought tooth and nail to protect her originality in an industry that thrives on imitation and quiet erasure. But what made the situation even more explosive? Rico was not the only one hinting that GloRilla's meteoric rise might not be as organic as it seemed. More voices began to surface, especially from the women grinding in the underground scene, painting a troubling picture. One Memphis rapper, Karmakosh, posted a cryptic message, "Funny how my whole style became a Billboard song. I got emails and timestamps, don't make me post them." In Atlanta, another rising artist was even more direct. Labels cherry-pick the underground, repackage the sauce, and hand it to someone louder. The message was clear: this wasn't just about GloRilla copying a few flows. These artists believed she was being used as a vessel, a marketable face with a booming voice, molded by industry hands to absorb, repurpose, and sell underground energy to the mainstream. To her credit, GloRilla did not publicly buckle under the weight of the accusations. Instead, she posted a video clip of herself commanding a packed-out show, captioned boldly, "They say I copied. I say I conquered." The post went viral. Thousands of fans showed love, but behind closed doors, her team was reportedly scrambling. Emergency meetings were called to control the spiraling narrative. PR professionals allegedly rushed to line up heartwarming interviews and re-edit promotional material to soften her public image. Because when real artists start dropping receipts and fans begin connecting the dots, this is no longer about internet jokes, it becomes a serious threat to the brand. And just when the dust seemed to be settling, another voice emerged from the music industry, but from GloRilla's own past. Someone who knew her before the fame, before the record deals, and what they had to say might change everything. So, what is the real story behind GloRilla's rise? Is she a fearless trailblazer with unmatched energy, reshaping hip-hop with her raw voice and tenacity? Or is she another face molded by the machine-fed flows, backed by money, and shielded from backlash until the noise becomes too loud to silence? What is undeniable is that GloRilla's come-up has never been neat or easy. It was messy, gritty, and according to some, not entirely original, from missing credits to lawsuits that vanished without a trace, from whispers in the underground to viral rumors that conveniently stole the spotlight. Her journey mirrors something bigger than just one artist. It mirrors the industry itself. Because the music world loves an underdog, but it loves a cash cow even more. Maybe GloRilla did borrow bars. Maybe she drew from inspiration she never publicly acknowledged. But what she brought to the table is something most artists cannot. Fake presence. That unmistakable gravel in her voice. That infectious Memphis fire. That charisma that fills a room before she even speaks. You cannot manufacture that. And that's why fans still scream her lyrics like scripture at her shows. Still, the larger question remains. In today's industry, how much of what we call talent is really just survival, knowing how to get heard over everyone else, even if it means echoing someone else's words? Who really owns the art? Who gets punished for borrowing? And who profits from it? GloRilla might have crossed lines, but the real issue may not be about what she took, it's about who is allowed to take and who gets erased when they do. As her fame grows and every lyric is examined under a harsher light, one thing is certain: the truth is buried somewhere in the music. And now, people are finally paying attention.